There exist certain forms of which these other things come to partake, and so to be called after their names. By coming to partake of likeness, or largeness, or beauty, or justice, they become like, or large, or beautiful, or just.
What are universals, and do they even exist? And if they do, in what way do they exist? The first appearance of universals can be found in the writings of Plato, and he often refers to them as ideas or forms. I won't use these words because I think they can lead you astray for reasons I'll explain later.
How is it that we can find objects within nature that looks similar and agree in certain attributes? Well, these attribute agreements are universals. For instance, here we have a bunch of different cubes. They are all different to each other in some way or another, but they all have one attribute in common, that of being a cube.
So all these objects participate in cubeness, or the universal of cubes. And the important part about the universal is that it is unchanging, indestructible, and exists within the world of forms. And in the world of sense, i.e. our world, we experience only particular objects which participate in various universals or agree in attributes. So each of these cubes are often referred to as particulars participating in cubeness.
Nominalism is often called the point of view that universals don't exist at all in any way. The only thing that exists are particulars that we compare with each other, and that some things agree in attributes is simply a brute metaphysical fact that can't be analyzed further.
So do universals exist? Isn't it just an outdated metaphysical theory? Well, no, there are more modern philosophers that support the idea of universals. For instance, the British philosopher Bertrand Russell laid down a proof of the existence of universals in his book, The Problems of Philosophy. Here he wrote,
If we wish to avoid the universal, whiteness and triangularity, we shall choose some particular patch of white or some particular triangle and say that something is white or a triangle if it has the right sort of resemblance to our chosen particular. But then the resemblance required will have to be a universal. Since there are many white things, the resemblance must hold between many pairs of particular white things, and this is the characteristic of a universal. It will be useless to say that there is a different resemblance for each pair, for when we shall have to say that these resemblances resemble each other, and thus at last we shall be forced to admit resemblance as a universal. The relation of resemblance, therefore, must be a true universal.
So resemblance is a true universal. Even some nominalists claim that things can resemble one another. But how is that possible if the universal of resemblance doesn't exist? If you think about it, you can hardly say anything at all without referencing to a universal. Every time you use an adjective, a verb, or a noun, or even a preposition, you're actually referring to a universal. So for Russell, almost all truths involve universals.
If we take the sentence, Socrates is wise, Socrates here is a particular, and the word wise is referring to the universal of wisdom. So if universals doesn't exist, what is the word wise referring to? Nothing. That is the point. The whole truth value seems to be dependent upon the existence of universals.
One of the reasons why I didn't want to use the word idea in this sense is because it can cause you some confusion in thinking that the universals or the ideas is an act of thought, which it isn't.
Alright, but in what way do these universals exist if they aren't acts of thought? Well, here Russell answers this question.
But universals do not exist in this sense. We shall say that they subsist or have being, where being is opposed to existence as being timeless. The world of universals, therefore, may also be described as the world of being. The world of being is unchangeable, rigid, exact, delightful to the mathematician, the logician, the builder of metaphysical systems, and all who love perfection more than life. What do you guys think? Does universals exist? Or do we live in a universe with only particulars?